Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be basically doing the last session on this track now, because we're pretty much finished, and we're going to just probably prepare the track for a mixdown then, and then I'll do another session then for the mixdown, and do another session for the mastering, and then all will be good. Track will be done. And sometimes I'll do the mixdown and then I'll still have to make a few changes. Do you know what I mean? I usually mix down as we go along. This has been kind of, because I've been recording, I've quite rushed a few things that I would normally spend a little bit more time on. But yeah, this is getting there now, so we kind of have to start moving things along towards the mixing stage. And then once it's mixed, I'll do like a little dirty master, send it to the label I want to send it to, and then pretty much see what happens in it. One of the lights on. There we go. Right. So I made some notes on SoundCloud. Where are you? You're over here. Yeah. So if we look here at this is what I do now with a lot of my tracks. I'll basically upload it to SoundCloud and then just basically write notes. So like if I go to here now, it's muted. All right, sorry, it's muted down the bottom. If I go down here and basically click on these now after I've listened to it last night and then this morning, I can then just take notes. So. So yeah, I'm basically saying that's not tense enough here.
21st century.
Can't hear the rain basically, so need to make that a bit louder. And you know, certain things. So it just makes things a lot quicker. So I'm just going to pop that up the top again. And now we're going to go through and basically fix all these parts. So 146 tension. We'll start with the easiest ones. So I'm going to go to just turning the rain louder or something.
Fire. Our first true piece of technology. Fire. Our first true piece of technology. Fire.
It's quite cool because that's
21st century.
quite a prickly sound.
Biotech, nanotech, fusion and fission. And that is just fusion and fission and fusion and fission and M theory. Fusion and fission and M theory. And that is just the first decade. We are now 3 months into the year of our...
Get rid of that one.
We are now 3 months into the year of our Lord. We can create cybernetic individuals. Be completely indistinguishable from us. Which leads...
Also, there's a bit of a screech here with something, and I want it louder, but I don't know where it's coming from. So I'm just going to highlight this. So it's not from that. Is it within the synths? Yeah, I think it's coming from here. Where are they? It's coming from these. So what we'll do, we will automate this just to make it a little bit louder towards the end of the movement, just so we get a bit of a swell upwards.
Which Which leads to undistinguishable from art. Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now.
Also, that is a little bit too tight to the drop, so it's just a bit stiff. So we move this all.
Which leads to an obvious conclusion.
If we just maybe move these two across then, so.
Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now.
Maybe a bit better.
Which leads to an obvious conclusion.
It still doesn't sound very impactful.
We are the gods now. We are the gods now. Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now.
I think the mix down needs a bit of work because this needs to be a bit louder, like. That sounds a bit better, but not ready for that. The moment, what else was on that list? So make it once you've done one of the comments, you can obviously delete it. So it just makes it quite easier. So one of the other things was the second melody. This needs to come in a bit earlier.
Fire. Our first true piece of technology. Fire. Our first true piece of technology. Fire. First true piece of technology. Fire.
Just do this, and we put this to another special color. We do this white, just to see if we can use that on here.
Fire. Our first true piece of technology. Fire.
So it's going to add in the snare roll, from here. Just so we have a little bit more tension again during this last one.
Our first true piece of technology. Fire.
A lot of reverb on that. track seemed to get a bit quieter there. Cool. Oddity at 0.55, so it's wrong. Okay, yeah. Maybe a little bit was added in too fast by here. Then 2.45, there's another one I made a note. It says odd sounding without the vocal. So I've added the vocal in this section, but it's not in this section. So let's just have a listen.
Our first true piece of technology, fire. Our first true piece of technology, fire. Our first true piece of technology, fire.
Yeah, see, you can see that it is missing from the then, but let's try it without altogether.
Our first true piece of technology, fire. Our first true piece of technology, fire.
Yeah, that works. Our first true piece of technology. Our first true piece of technology. Fire. 21st century. 21st century. 21st century. Biotech, nanotech, fusion and fission and M theory. And that is just the first decade. We are now 3 months into the year of our Lord. We can create cybernetic individuals. Be completely indistinguishable from us. 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 We can create cybernetic individuals. Be completely indistinguishable from us. Which leads to an obvious conclusion. Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now. Gods now. Gods now. Cool, right, so the other thing I said with this phaser. No, fuck that.
Our first true piece of technology. Fire. Our first true piece of technology. Our first true piece of technology. Fire.
don't need that. The track is pretty full. So one of the things I said was hint the phaser thing needs to be louder. So this thing needs to be. It just sounds too normal, I think, at the moment. Flanger, where are you? Phaser flanger. We're there. Let's just make it a bit more. The only thing we really need to do now is the initial breakdown needs to have more tension. So let's have a listen to this.
Which leads to an obvious conclusion. Be completely indistinguishable from us.
So I'm gonna maybe automate the reverb on this to try and like really fill out. So maybe if we do this, let's have a break. Maybe a mix down reason, because that is really loud. Is it going into the limiter? Just if you look at this, the multimeters I've got, look at the it's reading quite loud here. Minus 3.2, and then on the kick. I'm not sure if I prefer this. If we just link these together, can you link them? Yeah. If we so maybe if we get rid of this whole idea. think it was better before. Fine, and how just that's better. I think we need to remove that maybe. We just combine these together and then utility, and then just and get rid of that as well during that period. Okay, let's hear it from the top. It's not quite there, and I'm not sure why. Sometimes this happens, you know, sometimes you're just working on a job and maybe that this whole idea and maybe this unlink them now, it's a bit annoying, and just okay, that's maybe on the right idea with adding way more energy in this section, which is actually causing the lack of tension. This causing the drop to be disappointing. It just maybe seems a bit too lackadaisical in this area where we really need it to hit much bigger of a climax to then drop it on that, to then, but also this. better already. This mix down thing, what's going on there? That needs to come down on here. What device is that? Off it. So where riser knob needs to come off there. Not quite. Why is it doing that? There's like a... Let's try that as well. There's something happening here though that shouldn't be happening. Ah, there we go. That's what it was. And then if we just automate the lows out of this a little bit as it's rising up, you get a bit of a better suction. Much better, much better. Let's get rid of this. And maybe you want to just change things up a little bit in this section here. So I'm just going to, hang on a minute. Yeah, I'm just going to, just going to put this up here actually. I think that makes it a little bit more sense. It's all about chopping the tracks up, making all these little individual moments. You know, I can grab this and we can put a phone talker on here, like a phone EQ. I think it's called phone on here. Yeah, phone call. Which, you know, just simulates that old school phone call thing you had going. Oh, I need... Oh, this is starting to get painful to have on my head this entire time. I'm going to have to get lighter headphones. Phone call, is that the one? Maybe not. Yeah, so just turn this on for 2 seconds, you know? And then turn it back off. You're just creating like all these little like individual little like things that doesn't really make the track more complicated. No, doesn't work. So I'm going to add another sample of just a reversed like crash. And we're just going to have this in the background just to create a bit of suction. We all love a bit of suction, don't we? And it really like pulls things in. So that you'll feel this like swoosh now. It'll be loud probably. Let's turn it down.
Technology. Fire. True piece of technology.
That's better. Now, I think that's there. It's just the mix down that's holding that back. If you kind of... We'll listen to it again, but I'll put the volume down. Does that help? No, actually. Okay, it's not going to work. But basically, if you look at this, you'll see that the percussion is way... Like, it's a bit louder than what the kick is kind of landing on, so... Versus this.
Our first true piece of technology. Fire.
Ah, there we go, that's why. You notice by adding that low end, you can see the dynamic. This is a bit of science for you. Basically, the way these filters work is by altering the phase to basically kind of cause phase cancellation within the signal itself to then reduce the frequencies that you're trying to cut. So if I just loop this, if we pay attention to that, you notice it's asymmetrical. So basically, if I put a limit on that, a limiter or a clipper or anything like that, saturator or whatever, it's going to hit half of the waveform before it hits the other half. So you get like a asymmetrical distortion. Not, yeah, I guess it is some sort of asymmetrical distortion. But the more likely issue is that let's see, if I put a clipper on this now, you'll see what I mean. No, sorry, if I put a clipper on this. So where are you? Oh, I put a clipper here, you'll notice. So see, it's already clipping. If I remove this, it's not, you know, but basically by removing that and by looking at this, you can see it's a lot more symmetrical. It's not 100% symmetrical, there's something going on, but basically that means if I add this and then clip it, I'm going to be, oh, I'll show you now, turn it off, we'll clip. That's about it. That's about kind of where I would say the bass is kind of starting to pull through. A lot of that high end can be a bit, well, it's probably there where the bass is, but it doesn't matter. If I turn this on now, can you see the issue? Look how much more rounded that is down the bottom as well. And I'm causing way more actual distortion to get to the same headroom. So just gotta be mindful of these things, that's all. A more equal waveform, you'll be able to push higher on a clipper, and that's how you get loud mixes. Now, you can combat that by using linear phase EQs, but that's a different thing, and that's not applicable for everything, but we'll talk about that in the mixing episode tomorrow.
Our first true piece of technology. Fire.
In fact, we can have this a bit longer.
Technology. Fire.
raise this up a little bit more.
Our first true piece of technology. Fire. 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 Fire. Our first true piece of technology. Our first true piece of technology. Fire. 21st century. Biotech. Fire. 21st century. Biotech, nanotech, fusion and fission. 1st century. Biotech, nanotech, fusion and fission and M theory. And that was just the first decade. Theory. And that theory. And that fusion and M theory. And that fusion and M theory. And that was just the first decade. We are now 3 months into the year of our Lord. We can create cybernetic individuals. They're completely indistinguishable from us. Which leads to an obvious conclusion.
I want this a bit louder again. Sounds like I want it to sound like a screeching car crash, so you can.
Which leads to an obvious conclusion.
Don't need that on when this is
Distinguishable from us. Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now.
So, guys, I think that's pretty much there. You know, I can finish this track now and mix it. How many layers do we got to? We got to about 70 layers, probably, if we delete a few of them. That's kind of where my average is. Even though this track is a lot simpler than I'd usually have, this groove is really nice. It's just a load of little things type of thing, you know. Simple is better. I kind of go overboard with effects and stuff a lot of the time, so I should, you know, be able to create twice as many tracks if I was a bit more simple orientated. But that's something I've got to work on myself, you know, because I do like to produce and I enjoy this. And, you know, you just tend to make things a bit more complicated when you enjoy things. Not, you know, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, so I think that's it. We're going to leave it there today, and then tomorrow I'm going to go through the mix down and then get it ready for mastering, then another session for that, and then there we go, send it away to the labels and then get ready. So yeah, thank you for another episode, and catch you next time.